مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Is this on?
It was on before, but not now.
Uh, is it? Yeah, it's on now. Okay. Before I go into the presentation, um, I will tell you a couple stories, short stories, to put everything in perspective. One story is that it was very hot and it had not rained for almost 3-4 months. And the people were praying and everything else. So one cynical person was is outside the city, and he saw that there are a lot of children, school children, praying. And he asked, what are they praying for? He said, they're praying for rain. Children. He says, yeah, God listens to children. He says, not true. If God would have listened to children, all the teachers would have been dead. I also prayed when I was a child, and this is an interesting story. When I was in second grade or third grade, the teacher was terrible. And he would look for an excuse to beat us up. I mean, any slight discretion and a slap and a kick. We were tired of him. The 4 friends, third graders, we decided to do something about it. There was a holy man who was buried in one of the alleys near the school, near the blind alley. So we decided to go and pray there for the death of our teacher. So we all, 4 of us went, and we really prayed hard. And it says, and now we want the holy man to be intermediary between us and God, like people do it in other countries. So, and our case was very simple and logical. This man is brutal and he's cruel to the children, to the school children. And the cruelty and brutality has no place in religion. And since God listens to children, we are asking you to please send the angel of death to take him away. And we promised that if this teacher will die suddenly, we will bring candles and flowers to this holy man. So in our case, it was a open and closed case. I mean, really, there was no argument. So we came next day to school hoping that he'll be dead, but he was very much alive. And we put up with him for another year until we moved to another class. So I want to bring this to your notice, and that is that sometimes we make prayer as a vehicle for what we want. And if they are not answered, then is it our fault? Is God is not listening? I mean, really, that is something which has to be. Now, In Pakistan, at least, and must have been in other Muslim countries, it was not unusual when I was growing up that at the Maghrib prayers, after Maghrib prayers, when you came out of the mosque, there would be 5 or 6 women wearing the burqa and holding a sick child in their lap. And the idea was for them that the people who have just prayed will come out and they will blow blessings on them. I don't know how many kids got more infections because of the whole congregation blowing on those kids. But that was the power of faith, that the women will bring infants, okay, who are sick to see what the prayers can do. So it is the disease. It's an interplay of faith, immune system, and the medication that we use. So one wonders if by praying hard, are we trying to prepare our body, increase the immunity, so that we can cope with the with the disease process? Oh, this is about 25 years ago. I had a tragedy in my family. My 30 years ago, my younger sister died, and it affected me terribly deeply, as anybody would be devastated. And I was even surprised of the effects it was having with me. Many times I will go to work, and on the way to work, I'll turn around and come back home because I didn't think I had the strength to go and face the day working and other people. A friend of mine, a Hindu friend of mine, he also, I had talked to him. So he gave me a book. And that book really changed my attitude. It was When Bad Things Happen to Good People by Harold Kushner. Harold Kushner was a Jewish rabbi, and he lost his son, who was a teenager, maybe 10, 12-year old, and he had that disease called, and I've always mixed up the spelling, when kids get prematurely old. Progeria, thank you. Progeria. And then they die. I mean, it's. So in this book, Rabbi mentions that I am a good person. I do everything what religion wants me to do. I help other people spiritually and physically or whatever. Why is it that God is punishing me? I mean, that's the question which has always come, particularly to people who believe that why aren't our prayers answered? Jewish people during Holocaust had the same thing. I mean, there are a lot of things which have been, people have written about it. But he came to the conclusion, and the God has made universe and it runs according to the laws ordained by him. I mean, that's given. He has also permitted situations where ailments happen, diseases happen, and diseases take their course unless you want to change it with medications. If somebody has a terminal cancer, the person has terminal cancer. Based on statistics, we know that if it's a terminal lung cancer, it's a 3 to 6 months. To pray a disease away will be like praying for the sun to arise from the west. We can try, but it's not going to happen. Does that create a doubt in our faith in God? As this rabbi said in his book, no. Our faith is abiding. We have a faith in God, but we should not be asking for impossible things. We should not be asking something that, listen, I lost something and God, please make it happen to me. Make it happen so I can find it. We are generally, and I'm talking about the people of faith in every faith, are a believing people. And here is some statistics. In 1994, US surveys said that 96%, 96% believe in God and higher power. 79% believe in miracles, 73% believe in hell, and 65% believe in devil. So if you look at the belief system of, doesn't matter what religion you want to take, there is more than 50% people believe in these things. Spirituality and man, there is a long history. 2025 before the Common Era, Indian King Ashoka invoked spirituality and he decreed that no animals will be killed because he thought animals also had souls. And then we see the efforts to console and to help the sick in history. Hospice of St. Bernard in Swiss Alps in 962 of the Common Era. And I will come to this last one, that the Middle East, as to what was the concept of healing. Healing was important and it had to be done in such a way. This is a very important phone call, but I'm not going to take it, and I'll pay for it. This is my sister calling me from Pakistan. And if I tell her that, listen, I was in the mosque giving a lecture, what should I have told them? And he says, well, you should have told them that you have a crazy sister who calls you all time of the day and night. Anyway, um, there was a great Napoleonic surgeon by name of Ambroise Paré. He said one time, which really is very pivotal, and he says, I can only cut and sew, but I cannot heal. So one has to surmise that where does this healing come from? The surgeons and the physicians, they give you medication, right, to change or affect the disease process. They cannot cure it themselves. And is it ignorance of science on our part or unwavering faith that we have? So the prayer has been part of human experience all through history, whether you are a religious person, and even before the advent of religion, people prayed in some way because they identified that there was something more powerful than them. And it could have been thunder, it could have been sun, it could have been whatever. And we see in history that people have worshipped elements. And the basic thing in that is that reach out to something which is more superhuman, that we have no control on, and ask for intercession. Now, In history, all religions emphasize the power of prayer. There are biblical stories of miraculous cures by touch. The lepers become free of disease, and the blind get their eyesight back, and the cripples are able to walk. All these things, people say that this is the power of prayer. There are healing ministries in Christianity where laying of the hands is very, very important. And people believe in that. Miracle cures has happened, not well documented. If you look at from the scientific point of view, but it is in every society's vocabulary of miracle cures. Catholic sainthood, there has to be a miracle before somebody can be nominated and then elevated to the sainthood. And it is, and again, I'm asking this question, is it a fact or a subconscious attempt to believe and to delegate responsibility to a higher power? But we do that. We I talked about laying of hands. Are there any miraculous cures? If not, then what does prayer accomplish? Here I'm coming to the teaching of medicine to young students, because healing and prayers is very much interconnected. And if the society believes in that, then you would think that majority of the medical schools will incorporate somehow spirituality as part of teaching. Two-thirds of all medical schools in the US include religion and spirituality in the coursework, but the others do not. So question arises, is miracles and healing, expectations of divine miracle for cure and absolute cure, or transformation of self to accept illness and engage creatively to the circumstances. This is very important. I think we need to just spend a minute on that. When we pray, we feel good. This is, which is God's blessing that I just finished praying and I feel good. Is it also transforming us in such a way that we have this little high euphoria, endorphins, immune system? Both could be working. Two-thirds of the medical schools in US include religion and spirituality in the coursework. I said that already. So here is this is in a hadith. Tawakkul, trust in God. You could do it so many different ways. You could have somebody has a disease and he says, well, I have tawakkul, God will cure me. And I don't want to have anything else. But hadith says, trust in Allah, but tie your camel. Because Allah is not going to go and look for your camel if the camel strays away and walks away. You need to be responsible for that. So if you have somebody sick, yeah, pray. But should we dispense with the medications? Should we dispense with everything to help? Should we dispense with making the patient feel better by reassuring the person? Should we dispense all that? And he says, no, 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 we will just pray. And it will cause. No, I think that we need to be practical. And that is, yeah, hobble your camel but have tawakkul in God. Tawakkul means putting trust in Allah while also implementing the means to have been permitted. Jehovah's Witnesses have full tawakkul in God. They don't accept any blood or blood products. They would rather die, and I have taken care of a patient many, many years ago that he was bleeding from a stomach ulcer. I had to operate on him twice, but he he was willing to have blood transfusion, but the people around him would not. And eventually he died. He bled to death. Blood would have saved his life. But that is the trust this man and his family and his uh, parishioners from the church had. Christian Science. They don't believe in medicine. They believe in nature will take care of it. God will take care of it. And they do not believe in any treatment. And I think in some ways, it is the power of belonging. For us, for Christians, for Jews, as well as for Jehovah's Witness and Christian Science, it's a power of belonging. We belong to a religion that we have a full faith in God. We may not have full faith in miracles. Some of us might be skeptics of miracles, but we have full faith. And I think it is the connection between what your belief system is, what can and what it can do to prepare you to cope with the calamities. So here is reading of the scripture. In India and Pakistan, there is a tradition that whenever there is some illness or death and illness, people get together and read silently the Quran, the 30 juz, and each will take one and read it to just ask Allah's favor, either for illness or for forgiveness in case of death. 125,000 seeds used to pray. And I'll show you a picture of that. Animal sacrifices people have done to ward off the evil. Uh, Talisman, amulets, is to protect you against things. And this is practiced very commonly to go to some holy man and he will scribble something, and then either you dissolve it in water and drink it, or you have it enclosed in a little piece of cloth and wear it. Very common. Communion at sick bed and prayer vigil. So this is a picture in my own hometown, my own family, really. These are fruit pits, and they are counted to be 125,000. And I don't know why this 125,000 number comes from. But we have sacks, and then sheets are laid, and these things are poured, and then in every fruit pit, a prayer has to be uttered. And those fruit pits, which, I mean, it's like a counting machine, really, that all of them, and the family gets together, and they are all in wudu to do that. And again, there is a way to have God's blessing. But I also think there is a thing that they also feel good about doing it, but they're doing something good. I talked about the vigil. Now, I want to show you a painting here. Um, Edvard Munch, maybe you don't know the name, but you remember that famous painting of Scream Yeah, that was Edvard Munch's painting. And this painting is that his younger sister is dying of tuberculosis, and his mother is just sitting there. I mean, this painting tells you a lot about contemplation and a communion with the sick person at the time of death or time close to death. This is called Vigil, Death Chamber. And that's also Edward Munch's picture. And that is, this lady is in the chair, and everybody is in a state of mind different than the other people, whether it is prayers, whether they're thinking of their life together, whatever it is. But I'm sure that you, all of you, have experienced that there is a death vigil when somebody is close to death. The family gathers, and there is no talking, just silence. And somebody would pick up the Quran and read it. I always joke that when people go for visitation to the funeral home, one thing really they don't give a damn about is the person who is in the casket. They're talking and they're doing all that thing, and the person lays there by him or herself. Yeah. So this is something which I think our culture has that. Question is, if somebody is ill in England, and if I pray for him, how would it benefit him or her? We talked about earlier that when we pray for somebody in person, then we are invoking forces that we have absolutely no idea. Science says it is probably you're boosting the immune system of the person, and he will feel good about it. You can boost the immune system by reading the scripture and feel good about it. But how will it reach in England when somebody is praying in Toledo for a person? And scientifically speaking, it says the intercessory prayers, remotely uttered prayers, really don't work. Prayers work only when recipient believes in them and is prayed for in person. You can pray as much as you want for somebody who has no faith, but you have to have faith when somebody prays for you, and that becomes important. So, $1 million question: how do prayers work? Possibly a yet undiscovered quantum reality beyond the laws of known physics that operates in the background of known universe. That is the biggest cop out in this sentence that anybody can have. It simply says we don't know, but it does work, but we don't know how it works. It could be influenced by the thought that in turn influences physical realm. That means we are changing our own bodies in such a way to cope with the trauma or the grief. It empowers us, the prayer, to cope with the situation. And the personal beliefs are very important. 44% have experienced healing in their lives through prayer. Did antibiotics help? Did the cancer treatments help? I mean, when you're praying, we are absolutely ignoring everything ancillary that we are doing. The good scientific approach will be to see what happens in not Jehovah's Witness, but in Christian Science. Somebody has cancer and you only pray, and they don't want any treatment. Do they have any better statistics? No. Religion and prayer is sidelined in medical literature. Only 1% articles in Journal Medical Journal and 3% in psychiatric journals deal with religion. And I showed you a slide before that how many people believe in faith. So if they believe in religion and religion has a positive effect on us, irrespective of how it works for us, then there has to be some education about that so the people would know more about how to approach the problems. Can religion and science ever come together? One is relentless pursuit of facts. I think this is a little heavy slide. Science is to experiment and discover and unveil the truth. The other is belief in the unknown. When you are a believing person, and they are not mutually exclusive and can complement each other. We can bring medicines to a sick person, that's science, right? And we also pray, and they can complement each other. So it says that the other is a belief in the unknown, religion, faith, higher power. And it is the unknown that most of us turn to when facing crisis, whether it was thousands and thousands of years ago, a caveman. I mean, there was a belief system in some way, always have been part of human experience. And if that is true, then that really affirms us as spiritual beings. Can science, chemistry, physics, biology, you name it, fully explain life and consciousness? Science cannot, because science look at only one facet of life. Dr. Jabarin was nationally and internationally known in polymer science. But even though his repertoire was wide, but still he was very limited. Same thing about chemists and physicists and astronomers. Yeah. Each science or scientific discipline deals with part or section of life rather than whole of reality. For us to combine religion and science, we need to believe in the unknown. If you don't believe in the unknown, and what is unknown is religion and God, and if you don't believe in that, then you cannot bring those together. That's why most scientists don't believe in religion. Most, not all, but most do not. Especially the physicists and uh, astrologists. Because they say that we sent cameras and everything else and we didn't find any God. The famous story was that when the astronauts were sent up, I don't know whether moon mission or whatever, but astronauts were sent up, and one astronaut said that we did not find any God, and somebody says, well, if you would have opened the hatchet, you would have found him. I mean, that's a flip answer. But can hard science so why are the religious people healthier? It's because they pray, partly. It's a healthy lifestyle. Most of them have a balanced life, boosting the immune system, acceptance of whatever life brings. I think this is very important. Qanaat, to believe whatever life brings you, says, I will deal with it. So look at the Seventh Day Adventist. They, the religion forbids smoking and drinking, even coffee. And the statistics have shown the Seventh Day Adventists have a much better statistics in many diseases compared to the other people. It's a control group in a way because they don't drink, they don't smoke, and tend to have a very healthy lifestyle. So, religion and prayer, these are some of my concluding slides, contribute without question to one's quality of life and perception of well being. And that's why people have always aggregated, gathered in groups to have a common link. And in our case, the common link is our religion and what it teaches us. And I think that to me is important, that it enables us to cope with whatever the life brings to us. Nobody can prevent the disease. Nobody can prevent a calamity. And if you pray hard, the sun will never rise from the west. It will always rise from the east. But how do we prepare ourselves to cope with things? And that religion plays a very significant and important role in our lives. So I gave you some science and some uh, religious thinking. So future directions, and I'm talking, our theme was prayer. Can prayer alter the course of events, a course of a disease, a course of whatever you want to put there? Yeah. We don't have enough scientific work on this subject. There are more studies are needed. Is spirituality and answering the prayers linked? Would be more would a more holistic view of disease and health more conducive to a beneficial effect of prayer? I think all these things are which need to be looked at, and I'm sure that uh, some institutions are doing that. I use the word holistic, and that is to treat the entire person. The concept has been there, but I was thinking, toying with the idea of writing an essay on what happens to when people get old. I think that the doctor's visits become more frequent. And if you have 10 different problems, you have 10 different people taking care of you. And everybody thinks that what he or she does is the most important than others. So at the end of the day, a 86-year-old man is more confused, bewildered. He's taking a fistful of medication in the morning and fistful in the evening and a whole bunch in between. Have you ever thought of a simple thing? Won't it be nice if those 10 people could coordinate with each other? We do wonderful things in medicine, by the way. Yeah, we do. But that thing is somehow missing. Now, the concept was there. Concept was there in the medieval times and even before the Common Era, that have a place where the person will come and he will be treated whole, not only his toe of his right foot. The story goes that one man was boasting and he says, Well, my son was just appointed as a naval surgeon in U.S. Navy, and he says, "Oh, I didn't know that they specialize only in naval." I mean, that, that is so. In 529 of the Common Era, Persian Academy of um, Kandishapur Hospital and Medical Training Center established in Persia. 706 of the Common Era, first Islamic hospital, Al Walid Bimaristan in Damascus. Features. What were the features of those hospitals? Holistic approach. When you came in, they made sure your diet, your exercise, medications, your mental well being, and more than that, is that where you are is the most pleasant and wonderful and enjoyable environment that was created. And imagine that was uh, back 1400, no, 1200 years ago. You look at the hospitals today, are concrete and glass structures. At St. Charles Hospital, the new hospital which was built in the 70s, there is a spaces which were enclosed by the building, but beautiful spaces there. So I asked the administration, why couldn't we use that space for the patients to walk out, sit on a bench on a beautiful day? Answer, well, we don't have an access. Create the access, right? All you need is a door. Well, how can we monitor it? Well, make the floor responsible for the patient who goes out. I mean, don't take somebody out in a wheelchair and leave them there for 2 days. I mean, finally, after about many years, they transformed that space into a beautiful outdoor space on the second floor where the patients could go and sit. So the mentality is to have a room with a running water, with a bathroom, but nothing else. When I was at Medical College Hospital, I'm was after my heart attack. I'm on my back, and I said, "Whoever designs the hospital has to be an idiot because the patient cannot see anything out of the window. He sees only the sky. Windows are high. For a person upright, yeah, you can see outside Arlington Avenue and Glendale and all that and the trees. But a person on the flat on his behind cannot see anything. What's the use? Now they're having windows which are long enough that the patient can peer out. I mean, these are little things. But look at 1200 years ago, they had the idea of create an environment where the patient will feel better and good about himself. So a lot of people don't believe in God, but they say there are no atheists in the foxholes because each time there is a cannonball flew, says, "Oh my God," and he says maybe they are not any because they all got deferment, and the people who believed are there. Okay, so that was my last slide, and we have about 10 minutes to have conversation. Could somebody turn the lights on, please, in the back?
Thank you. Very good.
Yes.
Excellent lecture. Amjad, very thought-provoking, very difficult subject, very well done. And I really love the slide about the unknown, the hard sciences and the unknown, belief in the unknown. Because as far as Islam is concerned, the inception of the Quran talks about belief in the unknown. In Alif Lam Mim Dhalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fihi Hudan Lil Muttaqin Alladhina Yu'minuna Bil Ghaib. So belief in the unknown is the core of our belief system. So the two together, I really think that slide was very effective.
Thank you. Dr. Afridi.
Nice talk, and I enjoyed your talk. Very thought provoking.
How much thought it has provoked? I'm just joking.
By the way, I don't drink coffee, so maybe I should. Well, so I'll give you a short story, then you figure it out what I mean by it. So this person was very holy, but very poor, and I'm sure you have heard the story. I know all his life he would hope that that he would win the lottery, so that he become rich, so that he can do more better things, in his life. But he never won. Finally, he dies. He goes to heaven, and one of the saints was standing there on the gate to escort him to heaven because he was such a pious man. And he asked him on the way there, as they were strolling, "Do you have any question for me?" Of course, saying, "I have one question. All my life I've been praying that I'll get this lottery. How come I never did?" He said, "Well, we were waiting here for you to buy a ticket, but you never did." So the point is, you have to do something for something to happen. In the words of Iqbal, try to read his poetry and make something out of it. So this is a common, line from one of his poems. "Lab pe aati hai dua ban ke tamanna mein." I'm sure you have done it, singing and dancing and everywhere. So this is lab pe aati hai, the thing which comes on our lip is the inner wish, and come along is a dua. So it's a wish. That's what dua is. But that doesn't mean you should not, make supplication. That's fine. But we expect for that to change things. Very, very unlikely. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, this is the whole premise is,
So one family has a wedding in their family, and their daughter is getting married. They're all praying to God, "Oh God, not go rain today, because if it doesn't rain, the whole thing is gonna get washed away because their house is not big enough." In the same town, there is another person who's praying to God that my harvest is getting wasted because it has been dry, and oh God, send some rain. So who is God going to listen to?
yeah, there is a little poem, and I don't. It's a 4 lines. So the gist of that poem is that the German saying, "God strafe the English," and English is saying, "God destroy Germans." And the last 2 lines are that God this and God that and God everything. "Good God," said God, "my work has been cut out for me."
Well, and the artists confront each other, both sides believe in God. Both sides think that God is on their side. And both sides hope that they don't die. But one of the sides will lose men. So how does God decide which side to lose? The one who's doing the right thing, that's what God would say. But coming back,
Well, both are doing right thing. Who is to determine who's not doing? I mean, to invoke God in terms of war, um, when there are two Muslim countries fighting with each other, do we have a mizan to see one is a little bit better than the other? No.
well, there is Mizan.
Huh?
There is Mizan.
Well, the
Up
mizan.
for God.
Yeah, but we don't know. we don't know much about the Mizan except for a concept that we have.
Well, the difference between man thinking and God thinking. God is unbiased. There's hardly a man in the world, even the best of the best, who is not biased. That's the difference between, that's why Quran is called Quran, because when he puts all those things in the Quran, he did not think of Muslim, Pakistani, Indian. He did it for everyone.
Hmm.
So obviously, there is no vested interest of God putting all those things there because he doesn't, why he cares, but does it make any difference to him? Whether there are 1,000 Muslims or 10 million Muslims, or there is no Muslim. He is going to be God no matter what.
Okay.
Or let me just give you another one. Again, I may be a little bit off on the meter and maybe missing some words from this form. तेरी दुआ है कि तेरी कज़ा बदल जाए. Your prayer is that your fate changes, obviously, we part of the belief that the fate will change by supplication or by dua. मेरी दुआ है कि तू बदल जाए. When you change your mind, everything entirely looks different to you. But it's the perspective on life and events that, comes out whether you call it a dua or not, because God will do whatever he does. But coming back to God, God and science are not true contradictory entities, God does not come on earth to do things for us. We know that. No one will sit down to pick up a child who is sick and take him to the hospital. He expects us to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
God works through science. Science is God, God is science. God wants us, people, to make things happen. And science is his vehicle. He wants to use the science through us, whether you are a medical doctor or psychologist or whoever you are, or you're a priest, praying for the
Yeah.
patient. So there's intellectual thinking over here that I think it sort of changes perspective when you think about it in a different way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No. You want the microphone? No. Assalamu alaikum. I just want to refer you to the ayah, of course, everybody knows. The Jews went to Prophet Muhammad in Al-Medina, and they want to make his life difficult and, steer all these questions about religion, etc. And they said, what is a ruh? And Prophet could not answer. And then the ayah came, الروح من ربنا وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليلا. Means that God did not give you everything and He just give you as much as that little. So that's that to your speech.
Well, thank you. Any other question? We have a few more minutes.
Saleh Jabri,
No, we don't have it.
administrative 5 minutes, please.
Okay, short question and no answer.
In relation to what Fabio was saying, this is Allama Iqbal from taken directly from the Quran. खुदा ने आज तक उस कौम की हालत नहीं बदली ना उसको अपनी हालत के बदलने का. Actually, it's not Iqbal, it's someone else. So basically, that God does not change the condition of a people until they change it themselves. So it is the power of dua and dawa, which is medicine. So they both have to work in unison. Or complementing.
Well, thank you so much. I did not know that I would be able to generate so much controversy.
Thank you.